Hello and yeah, this is another devlog for my roguelike adventure game Neko Quest. This week I was working on the world generation and I think it's really cool and I'm excited to show it off, so hope you like it. So this is one of the test maps I was working on. As you see, we got some trees here, little flowers, a river with a bridge over it. Let's see, I think there's a house. Yeah, here we go, a little house here with working windows. Yeah. And of course this applies here, like this generation here. Anyway, yeah, that's basically all of this generation. I thought I'd show off how this kind of works. So let's jump into the code. So the way these world generation works, yeah, is we have presets and we have layers. So the preset is generally like, you know, it'll be like a map, or it'll be like Sneko layer. It'll be different types of, like the world map itself generation, yeah? And so what they do is they generate the map, this, and how you extend this. So this is the preset we just saw. So you set up the layers, you inherit, yeah? You set up the layers, you add all the layers, and then you just call super to set it up. And then it applies all these layers in the order that you have them. So it'll first set the ground color, it'll add the river, it'll add the bridges to the river, so they build on each other. And so the other part of this is the layers, of course. And the layer itself doesn't do anything. You extend this apply layer function, and this will like actually apply the layer. It'll do stuff to the map, yeah? It'll like set the water tiles, it'll set the tiles for everything. And so the concept of this is you'll have layers for like, you know, again, the river, you'll have layers for, you know, generating a cave, and then you build on top of each other. So inside the cave, you can make a chasm in the middle and little chests and treasure rooms with enemies in them that all build on each other. And so the thought was that these could be sort of reusable. So let's look at our test preset here. So ground color, it just changes. Oh, I guess we can show it. Fine. So where's that here? So this is basically using a similar approach of cellular automata like we had in the original like water scene, but instead of just counting the neighbors and doing a cutoff at like a certain number, it divides by 8, I think somewhere in here. Over here, oh, you can't see it. There, this. And so it counts the neighbors over 8, and then it'll blend between colors. So like if it's completely one, and here's this new function, we have blend colors, which was a mess to set up, as I was talking about last time, because they're like hex codes. Anyway, but yeah, it'll blend between, like, you know, the light green and like the sort of darker green. So if we look in the map here, you can kind of see like here it's like a little darker, and like here it's a little lighter. That's what that is, and it looks a little, you know, it's like blended, it's sort of smooth, it's not just like a randomness, I guess. That's all there is to that. The river is a cool one. Let's see what the river got. So set up with the thickness, and so these are all customizable in the preset. So if you want a bigger river, we just go into the preset, let's see here, and say we want like a ginormous river. I don't even know if this is gonna work, let's see. Yeah, and so now we have this ginormous river. Yeah, so these are all customizable. So that's the general. Oh wait, where was I? Oh frick, here we go. Yeah, so that's what this is for, is at a glance you change the values and you can just completely change the world, which I think is really cool. So here's our apply layer. We get a random point in the world to start, and then what does this do? Oh, and then we go from there to a random edge. That will be the river from edge to edge. And then we generate a curve. This is a Bezier curve. This is a cubic curve. So this is in MapGen layer here. So it should be like right here. Yeah, so you have the quad curve and the cube curve. So these are just Bezier curves. You specify the start and the end, and then the control points. And it returns an array of each point along the curve. So the quad curve is just a single like whoop. The cube curve it has 2 points. So it goes whoop, if that makes sense. It's like a little snake shape. So what you're doing here is a cube curve. We use the start and the end points on the edges that we generated earlier, and then random points on the map as control points. That's why we get these kind of crazy rivers snaking all over the place. This fills in the gaps, so I'll show this in a second. So here's this, yeah, we generate the cube tube, generate the tube is what I call it. So you use a curve, an array of just single points, but we turn that into a point. So like instead of just a single line snaking through, it's like an AOE around it that generates. So it's like a 3x3, or I guess whatever size you want. And then it generates all those points. Then we can actually set them. Don't worry about this. This just sets like the color. So like the inside of the river, if you see, let's reset. Let's be normal. The inside you see is like a darker blue, and the outside is like a lighter blue. That's all that's doing. It's nothing too crazy. But yeah, so the problem with this is that the points, depending on the distance away, they're like spaced out too far. So there might be like 3 or 4 spaces, and you might get like holes in your river. So that's what this is doing. It fills in just to make sure there's no holes in the river, which I don't think there was anything wrong with. I just think it's not something I want for the river. I can add another generator that does have that. Maybe it'll have like a swamp generator. I don't know. So anyway, that's that. Let's see what else we got. The bridge. Okay, bridges are also really cool. So target tiles, that's the tiles we want to put the bridge over. So you can do water or like chasm. You can specify what the bridges are going to be going over. Bridge length and width, pretty obvious. Yeah, so here's the general overview, yeah? So what this checks, if we look at this checks up, down, left, right to make sure like we're in the center of a water, not just like on the edge of a river. We want to be like in a water surrounded by other water. Adds it to the array. I don't like this approach for the tries. This is something I used to do. I think now I would just go through all the tiles, say number of bridges that I want up here, and then in here, I think I do specify that somewhere. I don't know where. Maybe it just makes one bridge. I think that's why. Anyway, the way I'm doing this now is you check all the tiles. You randomize the like tile order, right? Check all of them. Once you have enough of the item you want, you just return out of there. You just leave, and so you don't need to do this tries thing. And so I like that approach way better. But this is what we have for now. Maybe I'll refactor it later. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So here's the meat of this. Yeah. Check bridge viability. So we have our angles. So it will go up, down, left, right. You know, everything in between. And so we randomize those angles so it doesn't always go up if it can. I guess it doesn't matter since we sort by this. Anyway, also I can optimize this later, but yeah, what it does is it'll look for the shortest bridge path. Because what we were having, if you look at the river, you see this bridge here, it's like this way. What I was having without that is the bridge is going like this, which like it doesn't make sense. Like, why would a bridge be that long of a segment in a river? It should be the shortest path. Like, obviously, who would build a bridge that's not the shortest path? So that's why this is right here instead of like a really long and weird path. That's the reason for this. And so then it casts a ray in each direction to find the closest ground. And then once we return from that, we build the line. And this is what the tube generator is for. So before, I was making multiple lines, but the problem was on the diagonal, you'll get holes in the middle of your bridge. So we generate the line, which is just a straight line of points. Then we make the tube, which is the sort of AoE. And of course, this lets us specify the size way easier. So this is a huge improvement. And then, oh yeah, and we only set water tiles. We don't set, you know, ground tiles because you don't have a bridge over the ground. You only have the bridge over the water. So that is the bridge generator. Simple house, it just, I guess we can show it. It's just a square. Find a valid spot, build a square is generally what we do here. So all these functions are in this, by the way, that it's inheriting from. So like the hollow rect lines, this is for building houses, filling in the floor of the house, the curves. I think we have the tube and stuff like this. All that's in here. That's just like math stuff. Yeah. We had a door and windows. Fill them in, fill in the floor. Pretty basic. Nothing too fancy there. Cluster. Yeah, cluster's the next big one. Let's see if we have this. So you have the tile we want to set for the clusters. So this is used for the trees and it's used for the flowers. And I'm sure you could use it for plenty of other things. Yeah, so the size is how long it's gonna like span. Spacing is how, so for each, let me explain. Yeah, spacing is how far away the things go, and then density is how many of them there are. And I'll explain that in a second. So we generate our line, we generate the start point, and then the end moves in a random angle from start with this distance, the size distance. We do some math to make sure we're inside the actual map, which I guess doesn't matter, but I don't know, it's good to do. We generate a curve from that, of course using random control points, start and end we got earlier. And then based on the density, we go spacing out in each direction and generate that cluster here. So let's see, let's show back in here. So you see these flowers are kind of like spaced out a little bit, but then they cluster up here. So it's probably like this kind of curve is probably what it looks like. And then the trees here, and of course there's multiple clusters, which makes it hard to discern, but we can change the stats. So like if we change, let's see the let's change the spacing to like, yeah, really big. Then the trees should be a lot more spaced out. I guess it's kind of hard to tell, but they're a little, I don't know, they're a little more spaced out maybe. Oh frick, I messed it up, there you go. Okay. Is that all for that? Yeah, that is. That's for the flowers. Color surrounding, this will set up, so you see in the map how this, oh, it's hard to see here, let's see, yeah. Like near the river, for example, there's like the yellow around the banks of like the shore for like the sand. So that's what those do. They'll find the matching tiles and then they set the color. I'm trying to find a good one. It's kind of hard to see, but the trees set the surrounding tiles a little darker green. If you found like a really dense forest, it works kind of well, but you get the picture. And the way that oh, that's not the right one. Let's see, color surrounding. There we go. We find how close to the tile it is and then color it based on that. I think that's basically the whole thing. Oh, you weren't seeing that here. There we go. Yeah, we find the color to set tiles to set the color of, the color to set the tiles to, around them to, how far to do that at, and how intensely to do the color. So you can make it like really, really like pink around the flowers or something, for example. Yeah, we find the tiles, color around them. That's basically it. Yeah, okay, so now let's show the other world generator. We have a couple or a few of these set up here. So this is our first dungeon test, the Necromancer lair. I guess I could turn this on to see like the line of sight, how it's actually going to be. So this is just, here, we can show it off a little bit. Yeah, you got some undead Nekos here. The Necromancer minions. Uh-oh, message exceeds length. As you can see, what was it? Yeah, I just made it cut off here. If it happens again, I'll show you. But yeah, it's, oh, here, yeah. So anyway, yeah, it generates a couple of branches, and then at the end you'll either have a boss or like a treasure chest. So like, oh, but it's empty. And this was like just the first test generation. It's probably not going to be in like the actual game, but it's just like, you know, proof of concept. And of course you could, oh wow, there you go. Oh, here's the actual Necromancer itself. Oh gosh, let's fight him off here. There we go. Yeah, so the theory could be you could make like a little, instead of just square room, you have a little like a snaking room. Maybe there's like, when you walk through, there's like darts that shoot from the walls. I don't know, something like that. So this can be extended. This is just like the basic, again, proof of concept here. So let's see how it is working here. This is this one. Let me close some of these out. I need that. There we go. So basically the preset just use the one layer, and this is a problem I was coming upon, is that somewhat like for the dungeons, I only ever end up having like one layer, and it's kind of hard to mix it with other things, because like when you're spawning the enemies, you want them to spawn in the rooms, not on random tiles. So that was kind of the deal there. Anyway, let's go through this. So you can specify the room size, number of branches, that's how many entrances that start from the starting room, and how long those go before going to a loot or a boss room, treasure room if you will. Let's see what this does here. Yeah, so we this is making sure that we don't overlap previous rooms. Choose the next direction to go so we don't overlap. A lot of it is not overlapping previous rooms here. I guess I kind of explained it. Yeah, it branches out, goes random directions, and at the end you have a boss or a treasure room. And then for building the rooms, oh, what does this do? We got a function for it, fancy. This is the rectangle. So it moves, yeah, with the offset. This is just helper function. We don't care about you. If it's outside the map, we just get rid of the room and move everything back one. That was important. And then we choose this first to not have like infinitely many like random boss rooms. And then we set either boss or treasure room, build the map, set the player to starting room. Yeah, and then add the doors to each room. This is the outline of the walls. This is all stuff we've seen before, essentially. Yeah, and here's where we spawn the enemies. Yeah, I guess this could be refactored a little bit, but yeah, it's generally stuff we've seen before. A little boring, I guess. Let's go to something cooler. The next one we got is the Neko Den. So okay, let's do this real quick. So the way this works is you have two curves which will define an area of the inside. This is the chasm, right? So you can't walk on this. I think eventually I want to make it so you can fall in and like either take damage or maybe like insta kill you. I think that'd be really, really mean, but also funny. Yeah, and then it builds sort of offset. Okay, here's this is kind of an interesting generation with the curves. Yeah, so it builds kind of these offset rooms with like lines leading to them. And then let's see, yeah, so you have like lines. Let's see if we can get a better. Yeah, I see here like the line and then a little room. That's the starting room, but so there's no Snekos in it. But you see these little line and like rooms. That's it. That's the Sneko layer. Let's see how this is working here. So, Neko Den. So the size is how long the points for the curves will be. So, yeah, generate the points based on the angle, and then the control points are just random within the map. I don't know why I do it like this. This is a weird way to do it. But yeah, there's a quad curve, so it's not a double, it's just a single, whoop, and then each is whoop, whoop. Yeah, set these to the chasm tiles, so we can then, and outside with path, yeah, this is a complex thing here. But basically, where do I do the actual like fill in of? So the essentially, let me find this. Yeah, contiguous. Yeah, here. So originally, I wanted to set 2 lines, and then for each point in the map, you do a horizontal line test. And so you go to a line to the right or left, I guess, whatever, and you see how many tiles of the other type you see. And if there's 1, that means you're on the inside, right? You fill it in. If there's 2 or 0, you're on the outside, you don't fill it in. This is for building the chasm. But the problem I was getting is the curves generate a series of points, right? But there's not enough points to make it, never mind. There will either be like empty gaps in the points, or there's 2 doubling up, so it'll mess up your math. So the way I solved this is essentially, it's just like the fill tool for paint or whatever, where it'll find the contiguous area from one of like the corners of the map, and then it'll fill it all in. Yeah, the recursive little function here. Trying to, why is my sound on? What the heck? Sorry about that. Yeah. So it fills in like the fill tool, and then it changes. It makes an array for you, and then you use that array to set it to the dungeon wall or the chasm, which is the center. But that's done after the, where's this? Oh gosh, there's the rooms, okay. That's done after all these, so you don't overwrite anything. It's only set if ground, right? Yeah. So there will be like paths and rooms like over the chasm was essentially the feeling I'm going for here. So this is a long file, frick. Let's try to do this one by one here. So this is on the lines, we make a path so that the path like outlines the chasm, and then you do the little offshoot rooms, and there's this function here. I guess I can show this off. This is a honker of a function here. So basically, this whole thing is just math. It gets a certain tile, generates a line, and then a rectangle at the end. And so this is for rooms for the Sneko dungeon, for other types of dungeons, for like houses in a town, for rooms in a building, those kind of uses. That's what this is for. You put in your inputs of like room size, like path length, number of rooms maybe, I don't know. And then we fill those in, fill in the path. And then we add our loot. Yeah, this is the same as the Necromancer done. We add our loot rooms type deal. Yeah, any overlap was a problem I was getting because the rooms actually overlap sometimes. So I just did this function for this. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but for now it's fine. Just so the player doesn't spawn on a Sneko, so the Snekos don't spawn on each other, just for stuff like that. It's not a problem in the Necromancer dungeon because the way we're doing it, but in here, because the rooms can overlap, the random points within the rooms will overlap sometimes, which I guess is not that big of a deal, but maybe it is. I'll think about it some more. Yeah, we spawn those. Yeah, and then we fill that in. So that is the Sneko Den. Let me show you the next, or the final preset we got here. This is the town. So here, check this out. So you got these crossroads in the middle with some houses on the edge of it. And so the thought here, turn out these cool windows here. I love these. So the thought here, right, was like you would have your blacksmith and you would have the tavern and you would have the adventurers guilds. So the thought is like you go into town, find some quests, do the quests. I'm not really sure how the maps will like link together at this point. My original thought was like maybe a continuous worlds, or like maybe when you go to the edge of one map you spawn on the edge of the other, or maybe there's portals that bring in between them. I don't know. That's a problem for later Neko. Yeah. Okay. For now, let me just explain this first, and then we'll be done here. Yeah, so we got the crossroads and we got the houses. So the houses are the same as, let's open them up from here. Crossroads and then houses. So the crossroads, you get the center and go to a random point on up, down, left, right on each side. Random control points. Is that in here? Yeah, random control points. So they curve randomly. Or random one control point, it's just a quad. And then we fill it in with the cube tube. So the difference between cube tube and tube, I don't know if this is important, but the cube doesn't check, so it's just like, you know, a 3x3 around it, whereas this will generate circles, so it's a more smooth thing, but it can sometimes look less smooth just because there's like gaps in between the circles. So this one makes it more like contiguous, it feels like. I know I'm using that word a lot. I was in the coding for the for this is why, like contiguous, continuous, it's all in here. Or no, it's in the Sneko Den actually for down here, like contiguous, and I always messing it up. That's why it's on my mind. Anyway, yeah, crossroads they're pretty similar to the river, and that's why I was saying like how these are somewhat not as reusable as I wanted, because like the river and the crossroads they're essentially the same thing. Like they should just be one layer, but they're two layers, and you kind of they can't use each other at all. So that was kind of my issue with that, but I don't know, it's fine. That's a problem for later me also. So the houses generator is basically the same as the Sneko Den, the little like platforms in the Sneko Den. You just generate the houses, fill them in, get some windows in there, generate the path to the house, the floor of the house. That's basically it. Now you have a house. So I guess that is all we have. That's the generation stuff that we've set up. I don't know what I'm going to be working on next time. I'm thinking probably something other than generation, because there's just so much stuff you could do with this. Like it could just go on forever, and the game would never make progress other than the world generation. So I'm thinking I'm going to go on something else. Maybe I'll work on like character creation. I think that'd be cool. But disregarding that, you know, if you do have ideas for generation, please let me know, because I mean, I don't know, there's just so much stuff I could do with this, and I'm like, I mean, you know, you could have, I don't know, a boat on the water, maybe like a mountain pass, or, you know, a lake of lava. Like there's so many cool things. So if you have stuff you want to see, I'll definitely add that. So definitely leave your suggestions for that, and that's all for this week. Thanks for sticking by, and I'll see you next time. Bye, ya.